What's going on, everybody? This is Nick from the White Cat Outdoors podcast. And if you're wondering to yourself, hey, I didn't hear an intro yet, that's because we're changing things up. We're going to start doing a little pre-intro into the new music. And that's right, I just spilled the beans. We have a brand new intro. It sounds amazing. So I can't wait for you guys to hear it. Hope you like it. But this week's episode, we're going to be talking a lot of turkey hunting. This week specifically is going to be archery turkey hunting, and that's what I've been committed to doing this year. And we're going to discuss a little bit of the difficulties that I've ran into, but how I'm going to get through them in case you're interested in doing this as well. On top of that, I, a while back, got really frustrated with paying for turkey calls year after year and started just making my own. And it's actually really simple, and we want to show you guys how simple it is and maybe get you interested in making your own calls too. But I'm going to quit rambling and not waste any more time. Let's get tuned in to this week's episode.
So I did the cardinal sin. I pull up my bow, and then I look dead at his antlers. I got out of the truck, and when I slammed the door, I heard gobbles all around me.
Let's see it.
Alaska, moose, spot and stalk. That is the bucket list. I agree.
White Cat Outdoors. White Cat Outdoors.
Oh man, how about that new intro?
Sounding good.
Not
Real
bad.
good.
Not bad.
Credit goes over to Jordan Johnson at Combination Creative, my bad. Yeah, he'd been working on that for a while for us, and
Nailed it.
awesome. Speaking of things Jordan's been working on for us, if you're listening to this, up to date, we got some brand new merch hitting the store right now. So
Get after it.
So if you're listening to this Sunday morning, the merch is already available to you.
Mm-hmm.
So right after you're done listening, go to our page, click on the link. You'll be able to find it somewhere on there. I'm sure Nick's
yeah,
Got
it's very easy to find, Tom.
Yeah.
buy some shit.
Yeah, definitely.
Pretty sweet shit too.
Always.
I know I'm gonna buy some.
I already did.
You think you were the first order?
Yeah, I would
Well,
say.
seeing as how he didn't even send you and I the link before he bought it, so
That's not true.
is it?
I sent you guys, when I sent you it's live, or whatever I said, it's go time or whatever I said, I had not ordered at that point.
Maybe. Tough to say.
I'm already on my third order. That'd be wild. But yeah, so tonight, I want to dive right in here. Turkey season is rapidly approaching, and I've been very verbal about my tactics this year. And the more I talk about doing it, the more research I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm learning a lot that's hopefully going to help me along the way. And one of the biggest things I keep running into with archery hunting for turkeys is where to shoot. And there's this big debate. There's a lot of people that are just totally against archery hunting turkeys because there's too many opportunities for wounded birds. And I can see that with somebody that doesn't take it seriously, that can happen.
Mm-hmm.
But that happens archery hunting deer too. There's plenty of wounded deer
It's
that go.
part of hunting, even rifle hunting.
It's an unfortunate part, but yes, it does happen.
Yeah, you try to minimize those happenings, but unfortunately, sooner or later, it's going to happen no matter what you're hunting with.
Yeah, and so I've been doing a ton of research. Where are the vitals on a turkey? Where are they when they're broadside? What about looking straight on at you?
Mm-hmm.
What if they're looking directly away? What if they're in full strut? And then all those positions again.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not as simple as a deer or a moose or your average four-legged creature.
Yeah, you're not just going right behind the shoulder.
Exactly. There's a small window about the size of a softball that you're aiming at. Mm-hmm. And there's there's a lot of guys that'll tell you, there's a crease right above the copper lining on the wing feathers that, that's where you aim. Other guys are saying, if you hit high, watch them die. Hit them low, watch them go. And there's guys that are like, absolutely not. That's not the case. There's just so much debate on where to shoot these turkeys. But one concrete piece of evidence in everything that I've seen is if you shoot them in the head, they die.
If you cut their head off, they're not going far.
Exactly. And I've been trying to figure out, I've been looking at different broadheads, guys that I've talked to personally that have hunted before and shot turkeys. They're like, oh, I just use an old whitetail broadhead. And, I either, I take the legs out or I shoot for the vitals and stuff. And I just didn't like the sound of that.
Take the legs
Like
out.
if you aim, there's another spot that you'll hit like right above the drumsticks, and it's very close.
So they can't.
It's close to the vitals, but if you aren't quite at the vitals, you can hit the legs. I didn't like the sound of it. Just didn't sit right with me. I've always been, I want as quick
Dead.
kills
Not
as
maimed,
possible.
and then you go over and
Yeah,
kill it.
and have to wring its neck or something.
Yeah.
So with all of that research, I was like, you know what? I'm going do or die. We're going decap or nothing.
Yeah. If you miss, you miss. If you
Because-
hit it, it's dead.
Exactly. And it's just one of those things where it doesn't matter which way it's standing. If you can see the head, take it off. That's as gruesome as that sounds. It's what it is. They're going to fall right over or I'm going to miss.
Yeah.
How it's going to be. So basically my next step was, okay, I'm going for a decap. What size or what broadheads do I want to use? I've switched for whitetail. I'm using Annihilators. They're a very small head, a lot more room for error.
Yeah.
So I started researching different.
I think you mean a lot less room for error.
Yeah. Well.
You
Yeah.
definitely
Yeah.
have
More
less-
opportunity for
Yeah, more
error,
opportunity for
less room for it.
Yeah, that's the English language for you. But anyway, so I decided I was going to go with a decap broadhead, and there's a bunch of different brands out there. Rage actually makes a mechanical one, and
How does that work?
that's supposed to be like a either or. Take the vitals, or go for the headshot. Kind of like a hybrid, if you will. Tons of guys swear by them. Like I said, but I was like, I'm not going to shoot at the body. If I cannot get a shot at its head, not taking a shot. Because every bird I've ever shot with my shotgun, I was looking right at its head. I'm like, I'm going to get an opportunity at its head.
Yeah.
So I ended up with Magnus bullheads, and they had the best reviews that I saw.
I used to shoot Magnus Stinger broadheads a couple years ago before I switched to Annihilators, and I loved them. Magnus makes very good broadheads.
Yeah, everybody seems to love them, rants and raves about the reviews. The other big thing, too, is the price wasn't that bad. Like a 3-pack with replacement blades was like $40.
I was going to say that's what I paid for the Stingers was like $40.
Yeah, and these things have like a 4-inch cutting diameter.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, sweet. And ordered them up right away. And was
Did
like,
they come yet?
No, not yet. I just ordered them like yesterday. By the time people listen, I'm already going to have them. So I'm like, sweet, that's awesome.
You'll have to like completely change because
We're getting there.
Not gonna.
We are getting there. So I did that, and I'm like, sweet, awesome. And I went right back to doing more research on hunting because like now I've got that all figured out. I've got my where I'm going to be aiming, what kind of broadhead I need for that. Right back to the drawing board. Just looking through, reading articles, watching videos. And then I come across this video of a guy that's shooting those exact broadheads. And he literally grabbed his whitetail bow, started going, setting it up, and I quickly realized that he was like, had all sorts of problems with the broadhead touching the sight because it's so big.
Yeah,
and
you don't
when you
have the
build your
clearance.
arrows, typically your broadhead is just past your drop away rest.
Yeah.
Well, when you put a 4-inch circle at the tip of your broadhead, now it doesn't sit on your rest. And I'm like, son of a bitch.
Yeah, it's
I'm like,
hitting your sight housing at that
Yeah.
point, or your riser.
yeah, exactly. And that's exactly what it is. And I'm like, well, that's not going to work.
Mm-hmm.
And I also noticed he had some huge fletchings on the back. And I'm like, oh, I wonder what that is for. And he started talking about it. And basically, when you put that much broadhead on the front, you need bigger fletchings to help steer it
Yeah,
you know.
it's the same. When you go from a field point to a broadhead, that even an inch diameter broadhead like Annihilators are, it's steering your arrow a lot.
Yeah.
So you need. That's why like Tom has his arrows set up so that everything is working together. The bevel's working with the vanes and everything. So when you put 4 inches out there, that's really, really changing stuff.
Yeah.
How heavy are they?
The broadheads are 100.
Oh, they're only 100?
Yeah. I could have went with 125s, but I just figured for taking a head off
Yeah,
of the
you're
turkey,
not looking for penetration. I
figured-
wasn't sure since there's so much metal there. Or
They make 125s, but I went with the 100 grains. So that was the next thing. I'm like, okay, I need longer arrows.
yeah,
And that was the first thing I'm looking at. And I'm like, man, but he had some like really big fletchings on there too. Like you don't see those very often. And so I'm like looking around.
you do see them a lot more in like bird hunting. People that use
Yes.
like upland. They're,
Yeah, because they have huge broadheads.
yeah.
So I started looking. Magnus partnered with Victory Archery
Oh yeah.
and now makes an arrow that's built for those
Decal
broadheads.
Nice.
Like those specific ones. It's a Magnus arrow by Victory Archery. And you basically pick the poundage of your bow. I went from it's a 55 to 65, which is basically just your spine.
Yeah.
It's a 300 spine, which is a little bit stiffer than what I'm used to. It sounds a little sexual. But the other thing is I'm shooting a full length arrow now.
Yeah, you're shooting a 32-inch arrow instead
Yes.
of a 28-inch arrow. Or
Yeah,
I don't
so-
know what exactly you're shooting, but
I don't know, honestly. I know that I shoot a 29.5-inch draw. So my arrow's got to be damn close to 30.
yeah.
I would think. I don't really know the conversion there. Like, but
You
everybody's
could
different.
measure it.
I could definitely measure it. But
Tape measure tells.
I always just walk in with an old arrow and say I need 6 of these.
Yeah.
You know. But so I'm quickly learning that my turkey arrow setup is actually going to be more technical than my whitetail.
Yeah, no doubt.
There's just so much more that can go wrong that I'm like, okay, I need to get this all in tune. So it's actually a 4-fletch feather vane.
It's a feather because I know like a
Yes,
lot of
they're feathers.
like upland bird hunters that hunt pheasants with bows.
They're like
it's
fluffy.
yeah, they're not a feather, but they're
Yeah, these are fluff. Like it's a feather.
like
and-
my arrows
Yes,
for my recurve.
and the way that the blades are mounted on the broadhead, they have like a helical to them. The helical on the vanes are matching, so it does the same thing like Tom's. It spirals it, and hopefully just going to take
Knock
a
the
turkey's
head off the
right
turkey.
off. Yeah. So that was another whole conniption, and I guess if somebody's listening to this and is interested in going this route for turkey, I went straight to Magnus's website to buy the broadheads, to buy the arrows, because I'd already purchased the broadheads. Because they just didn't. I didn't think that I was going to be able to go and buy these arrows
at
just
any
anywhere.
archery shop.
Yeah, so
I'm
I'm
sure
just
they
gonna-
don't stock them.
Yeah, so I'm like, I'm just going to go. Yeah, they're made for turkey hunting.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm just going to go right to Magnus's website, go to purchase them. They're like, and they sell them in packs of 3, which is kind of nice.
Yeah.
So it was like $25, something like that.
Nice.
Maybe 30, I don't remember, but it wasn't that much.
As far as like archery equipment goes, Magnus does their prices are very, very good, and they
Yeah.
make good stuff.
Yeah. But the problem is because the box is over 30 inches, apparently that's the cusp.
For shipping.
Yeah.
Ah.
So they wanted like $68 to ship. I was like, yikes. So I was like, now I'm not so sure if I want to do this. I'm like, I got to find these arrows somewhere else.
Say if you went to an archery shop, I'm sure you could.
Order them or something. But I was starting to look. This is the pro tip I'm trying to get to everybody. Shields Outdoors. Shields.com. I think it's like SCHEELL or EELS. Shields. Just look it up. If you have an account, which is totally free, you just got to put your email in. Free shipping on all orders.
That's pretty sweet.
So I go to their website, go in there, and I've only bought things a couple times from them. But it's free shipping if you have an account, so it's like I always check if I need to.
Yeah, see if they have it.
They have the same pack of arrows, same price as Magnus, but free shipping. I was like, I literally just saved myself like almost $70.
Yeah. Tough to beat that.
Yeah. So I was awesome with that. Tom brought up a really good point. Now I was talking to him. I don't know how I'm going to carry these arrows because they're not going to fit in a quiver.
No.
So I don't know if I'll just like put them in upside down and just be careful with the blade side, or
I'd be worried about
wouldn't-
your string,
yeah.
buddy.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do that.
touch your string with a razor blade, and it's
Yeah.
done.
I would just carry them.
Yeah, I'm only thinking I need 2. Like I planned on practicing with 1, and basically
I
walking
mean,
in.
odds are you fling an arrow at a flock of birds, you're not getting another shot. I mean,
Yeah,
you
and
could
I already
possibly,
said,
but
like once I get a bird with my bow, I'm back to shotgun. Like if I kill
Yeah.
opening day,
I'm saying if you
Yeah.
fling an arrow and miss, they're not going to stand around.
yeah, that's a good point. So yeah, I just got to figure out how I'm going to carry him around.
They might though, because I've shot in turkeys. Like a flock comes into your decoy set, and they just hang out. Like
It's funny how they are like that because you scratch your nose and they're gone.
Yeah.
You drop one and the rest of the flock's like, huh, I wonder what that was
Let's beat the
about.
shit out of them. It's basically they're so
Yeah.
territorial. If one drops, they're like, "Oh yeah, now's the time."
You're done.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're funny.
So who knows? We'll figure out what happens.
Nick's just going to drop a flock with his bow.
That would be nuts. Now, Tom's going to be with me probably for most of my hunts. I really was trying to get Tom, big old long beard. He did.
I'd go and film for you because I'm not like a giant.
I'm self filming too. We're throwing, yeah. But I told Tom, more worried about killing the birds. It's basically the camera's going to be set up at my decoy.
Yeah.
And then I'm just going to hit record when I think a bird's getting close, let it do its thing, so it's not screwing me up.
Yeah.
But basically, Tom said if I've got my bow in hand, he's going to let me shoot first. Because Tom shot trap for a long time. He's got no problem shooting at moving turkeys. I've watched him kill moving turkeys, like not a problem. So that's the
Could
the
you
goal.
imagine if you guys doubled with a bow and a shotgun? That'd be crazy.
I don't know if it's ever been done.
I don't know. I've never seen a video of it, so
Yeah, I'd definitely be sending some snoods around.
yeah, that's a good idea.
I should put that on a shirt.
We should put it on a shirt.
Tom, you think?
Yeah, that's a good T-shirt
Send
design.
snoods.
Yeah, we could have like a old road sign, and we'll put like a turkey head with like a real long snood,
Oh,
and have it
dude,
like
that-
all shot up.
Oh, like somebody shot with a shotgun?
Yeah,
That'd be wild.
That's freaking
and
sick.
send snoods underneath it.
Oh, dude,
We should do that.
we should. Thank you.
Thank you.
So yeah, so that's the thing, the main issue I ran into this week, but it's all fixed. The biggest thing is now I've been shooting my bow, but I need to re-sight in.
Yeah.
So I pretty much just have to tear apart my. I'm actually considering taking my sight off.
Getting a different sight.
Yeah, I
for it.
have a box of sights at home, and basically putting one pin on my in there because I do have a single pin, but it's a big sight, and I just
Yeah.
think it would be easier just to take it off, put a new one on, and I never thought I would start.
My
tearing-
dad has a single pin sight. I'm sure you've seen it,
Yep.
but you haven't really paid attention to it. But the housing on it is very small. You know, it's like
Yes.
a 50-cent piece, and there's one pin in it, and it
Yeah.
moves that way. So that would probably be a better
The only
design of sight.
the
Maybe
only
not that specific one.
problem is because I have a special sight, and I put a specialized peep on my bow. I have an oval shaped peep, which
For your
yes, so that's
you'll
not-
learn to you'll
Yeah,
figure
it probably wouldn't be a big deal, because like I'm the only person I know that shoots with an oval peep.
yeah. It's because you're the only person we know that has an option sight.
That's true. I love that sight. But anyways, so I'm still got to figure that out. I might have to extend the dovetail, suck the dovetail in. I'm not really sure what's going to have to happen there. But it shouldn't be too big of a problem. But we'll see. I got a month and a half.
Yeah, I mean, all you got to do is throw the sight on and
Oh yeah,
Figure
I'm
it
not
out.
like I said, it's not a big deal. It's going to be.
It's definitely an obstacle that you have to contend with.
Oh yeah, I'm glad I found this out a month out versus or a month and a half out versus like 2 weeks, and I'm like shit. Because then I'd look like a dingus going back to my shotgun because I didn't prep long enough. So
hey, you could just practice and figure it out, and that would be your motivation to get out in the turkey woods instead of being a dingus and taking a shotgun. Stick to your word and
we're sticking to it.
I don't know. I'm getting some pretty skeptical vibes from you.
So I got a question for you, Nick.
Could have an answer, not sure.
You have your setup all put together. You know what you're going to kill a turkey with.
Mm-hmm.
How do you plan on getting the turkey within range so you can shoot it with your bow?
Well, Tom, it's funny you ask. So, a few years back, it's something I've been dealing with since I started turkey hunting. And anybody that turkey hunts, you know exactly what I'm talking about when I get into this. You go to the sports store, and there's a whole line of mouth calls. And then there's a whole line of box calls, slate calls. And, you can sit over there on a slate call, chirp it up, see if you like it. Box call, same thing. A lot of them even have chalk ready to go. You can really get a feel for what you're going with. They really frown upon you trying out the mouth calls.
They do. Yeah, they do.
And they get expensive, especially in the last couple of years. Like, dude, they're getting up like $15-$20 for a call.
That's crazy.
And you got to buy 3-4 of them just to find one that you like.
That's what I'm getting. And you hope you like one. So it's just like so frustrating to go to the store, spend $50-$60
and go, wow, these all suck.
Yeah. And, exactly. Maybe they suck. Maybe they're super uncomfortable in your mouth. It's like a weird tape. And it's just, you don't know. And it just.
And if you're with your archery hunting, you have to have a mouth call. You're not going to be playing with your hands.
Oh, absolutely not. I don't even like using, I use friction calls that you built for locating birds. Beyond locating, I'm a mouth call guy.
Yeah.
Which, funny enough, I used to not be able to use a mouth call. And I just had to learn because I hated sitting there squawking in one hand, holding my shotgun, like, oh my God, he's getting close. Do I need to call again?
Yeah.
Like just playing that whole funny town game. So I'm like, you know what? Screw all these turkey calls. I'm like, there's like 3 pieces to this thing. I got a piece of latex. I got some basically athletic tape.
Yeah.
And some sort of frame.
Yeah, piece of metal.
Yeah, I'm like, I bet you I could make these. And I'm like, well, it's probably expensive, but, maybe, if I do this long enough, sell a few, maybe I could make some money, or at least get my money back. So I start researching whatnot, and materials to make calls are, absolutely dirt cheap. Like you can buy a bag of 50 frames for like a couple bucks, and same with your tape, same with your latex. And that's another thing is every call out there, the latex is at a different tension. And this is all stuff I started realizing the more I got into building my own. And the tension that you put on that latex drastically changes the tone and how simple or difficult it is to use.
Yeah. Where were you buying that stuff?
So I got all of my stuff from myelkcall.com. That's where I got my whole kit. I was getting to it. Because, like I said, at first I was a little nervous because, diaphragm presses is what they're called. They're, $600-700 a piece. I'm like, geez, that's a lot of turkey calls. But I stumbled across this website, myelkcall.com, and they sell it's a small, you're not going to start a company with this thing.
But making your own personal calls.
Yeah, but making your own personal calls, it works great. I've been using it for several years and absolutely love it. I've cranked out a ton of calls, and they all sound great. And I know what I like now. I know the tension I like. I know the amount of reeds. I figured out my own cuts. Like all that stuff is all customized now. And basically, I found the kit, and I was like, that can't be. So he sells it's the press, to set up the whole thing, and enough material to make 3 or 15 3-reed calls.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean that's a lot of calls.
Yeah.
$25.
Can't beat that.
No, you can't. And then I've since bought supplies from other stores.
And then you only got to buy the press one time. Then you can just buy the material.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, I've since bought more material, and now I buy different color tapes and different color latex and different things. Ribbed latex if you want, for a better mouthfeel. Whatever.
For the turkey's pleasure.
Yeah, exactly. And you get to come up with all kinds of cool names for each cuts.
You do have some good
You're going to have to get on our Patreon if you want to hear those. I had somebody, so I posted about this on Instagram, and somebody wanted to see the videos. And I was like, oof. Like, I do have some videos of different names of calls and me using them. But if you're really interested, I can show you a couple of my signature cuts and the names. But that's for another podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
It'll be on White Cat After Dark.
Yeah, whenever that series launches. But yeah, so I couldn't believe it. $25, it gives you your press. For $25, you have everything you need to make 15 calls.
Mm-hmm.
And it's stupid simple. I mean, it's a matter of stretching a little latex, putting a metal frame on it, taping it up. The tape is already got the hole cut out for the frame. So like there's the only cutting you have to do, and just with any kitchen scissors, is to shape the mouth call, which is another cool thing. You can cut it however you want. And if you're a guy that has a smaller mouth and you are already cutting your calls, you always risk going too small or something, and now you just wasted your $15 call.
That's how I am. Like when I use a mouth call, I like them small. I don't have.
But if you cut it too small, now you're screwed. You just wasted that. Now it's like, okay, I wasted $1, if that. It's probably less.
Mm-hmm.
So you can get the size that you like. I make a pattern now, and cut it out real nice. And then I started playing, like I said, with the tension of the latex.
Mm-hmm.
I now add different tensions to different reeds, and it adds more depth to your call, but not too raspy. Like it works so much simpler, and it's something you don't get out of high production calls. So like I personally believe I have a higher quality call than what you can buy in the store, because it's custom for me.
And you don't have to spend $60 on a couple calls to find what you like.
One kit is what is less than what I was going to spend on calls for the year anyway. And then after that, I just buy, I've been using the same batch of material for the last 2 years, because I bought like 100 pieces of tape, 100 frames, and a shit ton of latex. And like the latex already comes in little squares, so it's not like you get this whole roll. It's super simple. And as we get closer to season, I was getting ready to make some calls. I'm like,
hey, you got to make me some.
Yeah, I will. I made you some before. I made both of you guys.
Yeah, you made me 2 or 3 calls the very first year you got your setup.
Yeah.
And
well, that's the other thing I wanted to get into about like my frustration with mouth calls is it's not as bad now, but back when I chewed tobacco, tobacco rips apart calls.
Oh yeah.
you got to have a pinch of snuffing when you're turkey calling.
I
if you do the stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't have that problem anymore, but
if you're someone that uses,
it's something you got to worry about. But even if I only get a year, maybe 2 out of a call, because they just get nasty.
Yeah, they don't last long.
I mean, even if you drink a cup of coffee on your way to the woods, and then you put your call in, and then it's just got like that. It's just they end up just bad.
Yeah.
Little pro tip. Something I have done. I don't swear by it, but you can take your mouth call and like the night before you go turkey hunting, take a shot glass, fill it with mouthwash, and set your call in there overnight.
Probably an alcohol-free mouthwash, I would imagine. Wouldn't the alcohol probably be bad on the latex?
Yeah, I would imagine. But I mean, like you said, you're not getting much life out of them anyway.
No,
they go
I mean,
bad.
I make new ones. I make new ones
shit.
every year. So it's just simple. like I said, I usually I like to have 2 or 3 calls that I like on hand, because sometimes the birds just, maybe you use the wrong pickup line with one tone, and it doesn't matter what you say after that.
They're
you
not
you
interested.
offended them.
Yeah.
You told him his beard's small, and you just don't know. So now you got to get the new girl on the block, talking her sweet nothings, and maybe you compliment him. Maybe you tell him he's got a big snoot, and he's coming right in. So I like to have a few different options. I'll catfish a turkey. I don't care. But it's all good. So if you're as frustrated as I am when you go to the store to buy more,
I'm sorry. I'm trying not to laugh into the mic, but I'm laughing. So
every
please
once in a
keep
while
going.
I say something funny.
Yeah, you did it that time.
So if you're as frustrated as I am about calls and the expense of them and stuff, if you're looking for more information, if that wasn't enough for you, reach out to us, and I will show you everything I've done. I will, give you any tips, pointers, because it's awesome. I love making my own calls now, and I've called in. I'm trying to think of how many birds I've killed since. How long have I been doing
5.
calls?
When we went to Maryland, I think was the first year, and that was 2018, I think.
So I've probably killed 4 or 5 birds, and in a couple of those, like I had doubled with somebody, and they got a bird from me calling. I'm not speaking about Tom, my other buddy, because Tom does a lot of the calling more together. I didn't want to.
Yeah,
I didn't
you
want
doubled with Joe before.
Yeah, I didn't want to sound like I was taking credit for Tom's calling, because I figured he'd speak up anyways.
I was going to, yeah.
No, my buddy Joe.
Because I called those birds in
Yeah,
the
Just
first
to be
morning.
clear.
yeah.
Nick did the call on day 2.
I did do this day 2 woods calling. But I hunted with my buddy Joe before, and he wasn't really big on turkey hunting, but he was interested in turkey hunting. Just
Hadn't done it before.
yeah, and he was practicing with his mouth calls and stuff. But it was, and he actually did call that day, and had birds answer, so it was really cool. So it was actually a little bit of both. But I was using my homemade calls, and it just, there's so much more satisfaction. You make your own mouth call, you call a bird in, you smack it in the beak. It's just awesome.
Yeah, no doubt.
So it's great. I highly recommend doing it. And for $25, you can't go wrong, because one-time purchase, and you've got all the calls you need for the year for less money than you were going to spend anyways.
Yeah.
So
And once you figure it out and find what you like you said, you make templates and stuff. You buy that kit, you have calls for years for $25 instead of spending $60 a year on them.
yeah, oh yeah. I mean, for pennies, you
And
can
when
buy
you
tape.
buy like Primos calls, or they don't make one call for years and years and years. You find
That's
a call that
another
you
reason
like,
this started.
and then 2 years later, you're like, "What the hell? I can't find that call anymore."
Yeah.
Because they discontinued it, they started making something else, and now you got to start your process all over again.
Yeah, that's another big thing is I feel they're like models of cars.
Yeah,
Like every
They're
year
in
they
and out.
change, because people, they like funny names and stuff for their call, and I do too.
it's tough to beat.
I call mine cat calls because we have White Cat Outdoors. I'm like, call them cat calls, and they all have very seductive names.
Yeah,
But I mean, there's a lot of companies that do that. Our buddy Keith is on the pro staff for blackjack game calls, and all of theirs have like a poker spin to them. And I've used their calls, really like theirs too. But I just like making my own now.
yeah,
So it's fun to do that sort of thing. And then once you, like you said, once you figure out what you like, boom, I just keep making that call over and over and over again.
yeah. And that will
and-
never go out of production,
yeah, the
because as
turkeys
long as
love
you
it.
feel like making it, it'll be there.
Yeah, and every year I make a wild one. I try something crazy and just see what happens. And sometimes I like it. Most of the time I don't. But just to see, what happens, because you have so much more room to play when you do it this way, because like I said, different tensions in the latex on each layer, and how far you space the first layer from the top layer, like all that sort of thing is all customized now. And I just, like I said, I think it gives you a more authentic sound. It's like reloading your own bullets. You get full control over what you're doing versus just buying a high production run of another call.
So I guess to answer my question, you plan on making a mouth call and then calling a bird in with that mouth call to shoot it?
Yeah, I don't turkey call at all when I'm in the woods.
Right.
I think that is one of the worst things you can do while hunting turkeys. The biggest thing, and Tom actually is the one that I have to award with, credit for my success in the turkey woods. And the day I quit turkey calling and started calling turkeys, everything changed.
Changed my life. It's great.
And that if you get one thing from this episode, that's what you need to know. Quit turkey calling and start calling turkeys.
Amen.
Amen.
On that note, thank you guys. If you haven't bought your shirts and apparel and hats, all that kind of stuff, if you haven't bought them yet, there's still time. Get on there and do that. And thank you again in advance for supporting us for this long. You guys all know what to do. Get outside.